In the last 2 years in Australia, we've experienced the worst bushfires on record, devastating storms and floods, and a long pandemic that's bringing immeasurable social, economic, and wellbeing costs. And when we look ahead to the projections in the recent IPCC report, we know there's more to come. A future with more intense, frequent, and longer fire weather events, as well as longer periods of drought, heavier rainfall, more intense flooding. And as we sit at home, many of us in a hard lockdown, and reflect on the challenges we've faced and what we'll need to be collectively prepared for, I'm wondering what stands out to you as having brought you strength and hope?
Hicks said something at the beginning of her lecture that really resonated for me, particularly in the context of the work that I do with Aboriginal communities. She said that the desire to be treated with dignity is an innate human yearning, that we all have value, we all want to be treated as though we matter, and when we are, we flourish. If you ask most Aboriginal people, they'll tell you that with every injustice that's been thrown at us for the last 230 odd years, the very fact that we are still here is a measure of our resilience. And that's fair enough. But I guess for me, this highlights a problem that I have with how resilience is usually defined as the capacity to recover or bounce back from difficulty. You know, of course, we need to build resilience. But for me, having resilience means having the confidence and the capability to respond to your own advantage. So disaster recovery in Aboriginal communities needs to be used as an opportunity to reimagine the future, to aspire to something more. Aboriginal communities want and expect to be part of the solution to the issues they face. If flourishing is truly our aspiration, in my view, we must engage communities with dignity. We must adopt a healing-centred narrative that focuses on what's possible, and we must commit to a process of genuine co-design.
Young people in rural areas often don't get access to the kind of help they need to get over not mental health illnesses, but just general mental health. Having conversations with people one-on-one or in a large group and finding connections until they really, really need it. One of the things that needs to be facilitated more and more is just a chance to share your experiences. And I think that's where things like radio and youth groups are so important in rural areas. On the radio afterwards, we got to speak to people who had written songs about it, who had, you know, just funny stories to tell. And that was one of the best parts about coming together again and finding that healing and that flourishing.
I would like to acknowledge the fact that there are quite a number of people from Cobargo in the audience here. It really shows that we took and are continuing to take a team approach to our recovery and our resilience building. And it's just, the team's all here, so that's been really great to see. And like Jason, I also have a number of issues with the use of that word resilience. There are people who are living in country areas all across Australia who feel that they've been dealing with so many issues over so many years that their resilience is undisputed. I think we kind of look at what we have here as self-reliance, a certain outspokenness and a willingness to stand up and to be heard, but also that tremendous connection to the community and to the village that is bringing us together. In fact, the original intent was to try and secure bushfire recovery funding, but to make sure that that was used to improve the resilience of our village and our communities.
Thanks again. I look forward to flourishing communities all over Australia.